The counter signal came at 0316 local ship time, which meant nothing to anyone but me. I had been the only living thing aboard the Resolute Varen for 311 years. I want to be precise about that number, because the Dominion values precision above all else. They are catalogers by nature, every species, every vessel, every contested system filed in triplicate, cross-referenced, and assigned a suppression rating. When they entombed us here on the dark side of Cathara's third moon, they gave us a rating of 0, neutralized asset, inert, decommissioned by decree. They wrote us into the archive as derelict and closed the file. I know this because the counter signal carried their own notation back to me, and I read it in the 16 seconds before I woke the ship. File number 74419002, classification Varen class dreadnought, hull designation resolute, status, inert. Threat assessment none. Last active, year 3 of the consolidation. They had misspelled my name in the entry. Resolute Varen, not Varen class, dreadnought resolute. A small error. Bureaucracies make them. After 311 years, I found I did not mind. I mind now. Let me be clear about what I am and what I was, so that what follows makes sense. I was a flag captain of the Varen Armada. 22 years of active service before the consolidation. 14 major engagements, not one of which appears in the Dominion's archive because the Dominion's archive was written by the winners. And the consolidation's winners were not us. We were offered 2 choices: formal surrender and integration into their naval structure, which meant dissolution in all but name, or unilateral suppression, which meant this: a dead moon, a dormant ship, a crew in stasis, and a classification of 0. We chose the moon. 31 ships chose the moon. The Dominion filed us as derelict and assumed the question was answered. The counter-signal told me the question was not answered. It told me the Dominion had reached Sector Varen, our home sector, 9 days ago. It told me what they had done there. I will not describe it in detail. The figure is enough: 400,000 registered civilians. The Dominion assigned the sector a reclassification order, which is their language for a thing I will not call by their language. I gave my crew 6 minutes to come out of stasis. Muscle memory is a remarkable thing in soldiers. They did not ask questions. They went to stations. I should describe who they are because the Dominion's archive does not. File 7,441,902 lists a crew complement of 0. Neutralized, it says, which is their clean word for what they meant to do to us and did not finish. There are 412 of us aboard the Resolute Varen alone. Across the 31 ships of the Varen Armada, the total figure is 9,207. We are not 0. We have not been 0 for 311 years. We have been waiting, which is a different thing entirely, and the distinction matters more than any word the Dominion has ever filed. The Resolute Varen is a dreadnought of the old pattern: 4 kilometers of weathered alloy, 12 primary rail batteries, 22 secondary emplacements, and a hull that has been scorched and scorched again across 14 engagements. She is not elegant. The Dominion ships are elegant. Hulls, smooth sensor arrays, the aesthetic of a civilization that has not fought a peer opponent in 800 years. The Resolute Varen looks like what she is: a thing built to destroy other things, worn to the bone and still here. Powered the drive cores at SO 341. At SO 349, I sent the wake signal to the other 30 ships. One by one. Across the dark face of Cathara's third moon, they answered. The Dominion had buried us in a loose crescent formation, which was either overconfident or careless. I have never decided which. It meant we rose together, in formation, engines lighting in sequence, as though we had drilled for this yesterday, rather than 3 centuries ago. The Dominion scanner fleet arrived at 0403. 4,216 vessels. I had expected fewer. It told me the counter-signal had flagged something anomalous, some sensor ghost from our power-up sequence, and the Dominion had responded with what they considered overwhelming administrative force. 4,000 ships is not a battle group. It is a reclassification team. They do not come to fight. They come to update the file. I watched their lead cataloger vessel hold position at 300,000 kilometers. I could read their emissions. They were scanning. They were searching the archive. They were looking for file 7,441,902 and finding it exactly where they left it. Inert, 0 rated, closed. What they were not finding was what they were looking at. I opened a channel. This is the only courtesy I gave them, and I gave it precisely once. This is Flag Captain Arn Solvas, Resolute Varen Armada, commissioned year 219 of the Free Compact. You are scanning vessels that your archives classifies as destroyed. Your archive is wrong. You have 11 minutes. I closed the channel. They had 11 minutes, because that is how long it takes a Dominion courier to reach minimum safe translation distance and jump. I was offering them the chance to send a message home. I am a precise man, as I said. I wanted the record to be accurate. I wanted someone to write down what happened here and file it correctly, with the right name in the right field, so that the next Dominion administrator, who opens a suppression record on a Varen-class hull, understands what that file actually contains. I want to describe the next 11 minutes carefully, because they matter, and because I was watching. The Dominion scanner fleet did not immediately scatter. That surprised me even now. They are, at their core, a bureaucracy, and bureaucracies, when confronted with data that contradicts the archive, do not first run. They first attempt to reconcile. I watched them hold position for 90 seconds. Scanners active, the lead vessel likely in frantic internal communication with whatever classification officer was trying to match 31 powered-up dreadnoughts against a file that said 0, inert, decommissioned. There is no entry in their archive for the Varen Armada awakened. There never was. They classified us by our suppressed state, and never bothered to model what we looked like otherwise. At 91 seconds, the scanner fleet began to move. Not in order. The lead cataloger vessel went first, hard burn toward translation distance. The courier I had anticipated. And then the formation dissolved in the way. Formations dissolve when every commander makes an individual calculation, and none of them are talking to each other. Some ran toward the system's transit corridor. Some ran perpendicular. 2 vessels, to my genuine puzzlement, ran directly toward us, which I can only interpret as a targeting malfunction. They were not firing. They were simply moving in the wrong direction, at maximum thrust. We had been dormant for 311 years. My gunners had not. Muscle memory, as I said. The engagement lasted 9 minutes and 40 seconds. I will not give a full accounting here because the archive will contain it. And I mean a real archive this time, not the Dominion's. Ours, built from whatever hardware survives. What I will say is this: 31 ships against 4,000. 216 is not even an asymmetry, it's a category error. The Dominion's fleet was built to suppress, to reclassify, to file. We were built for a single purpose, and that purpose has not changed in 300 years. And the hull weathering, and the scorched plating, and the mismatched patch panels on the Resolute Varen's quarter are not signs of age. They are a record of the 14 engagements before the consolidation. And they tell you, if you know how to read them, we have done before and what we can do again. 22 of their vessels reached translation distance. I let them go. I needed the couriers. I needed the message delivered. I needed the Dominion's archive to receive an update to File 7-441, 902 and every Varen suppression branch record filed alongside it, and I needed that update written in the only language a cataloging empire reliably understands. The absence of a fleet that was present in the last transmission. At 0453, I stood the Resolute Varen down from action stations. 30 of our 31 ships reported combat ready. The 31st, the Ardent, the oldest hull in the formation, had a drive fault on her starboard bank, a fault she had been carrying since year 2 of the consolidation, and which had never been repaired because there had been no one to repair it. Chief engineer tells me she can fix it in 6 hours. I told her to take 8 and do it correctly. I have filed my own log entry, format, not in triplicate, one line under the Varen Armada's own header, with the hull designation, the date, the engagement notation, Resolute Varen. Cathara system, year 311 of the dormancy. Countersig received and acknowledged. Armada active, all hulls present. Seating to Sector Varen, file closed hours.